moistly. 2 meters apart, speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. 2 meters apart, speaking moistly.
Welcome to Speaking Moistly, everyone. I'm having issues with my mouse not actually being able to pause the YouTube video, but we'll carry on anyway because that doesn't matter that much. How's it going, Greg?
Going fantastic, Mark. Better weather we've been having here in Ontario. And
Beautiful outside.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Doing well, man.
Good, man. Good. Yeah, we went to McDonald's today for lunch with the kids. My son's been demanding McDonald's for 2 days, and I was like, all right, today I caved. I was like, fine, we'll go to McDonald's. And it's gorgeous.
Got a Happy Meal.
He did get a Happy Meal. Plain cheeseburger.
Do they have little like toys with it? Little COVID toys?
They got
little,
Pokemon. They got
action
Pokemon
figures?
cards. I would if they came out
nice.
with like collect all 5 COVID monsters, like the Alberta COVID monster, and like collect all the province COVID monsters. Right?
Or they probably do something like collect all the frontline worker.
Oh, there we
figures. Go. Like the nurse, the doctor.
Collect all the PPE. Yeah. No.
Oh, God.
No. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. No.
Well, I mean, I think they're smarter than that to avoid
these days.
The political BS.
Yeah.
Get woke, go broke, as they say.
Indeed. Oh well. Anyway, let's get into this mad world that we've been living. They extended the lockdown. We didn't get a chance to talk last week because I interviewed Gilly Davis, which was fun, and then our schedules just conflicted, so we didn't get together.
It's just 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
What, you don't trust them?
It's June.
It's just 2 more weeks, man.
We're going to be open June 3rd, right? For sure. Like, I mean,
You're
anybody who doesn't believe the government.
You're being selfish and impatient. It's just 2 more weeks, man. Okay?
If you really cared about other people, you would stop pointing out the obvious flaws in these plans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you weren't so selfish, like I care, so I'm going to believe them. Okay? You don't care, so you don't believe them because your character. It has nothing to do with you thinking about stuff. It has to do with your terrible character.
That's it, right? I think that's funny too, how it is like a personal attack on people. It's not like they have a right to make medical choices for them and their family. It's not like the rhetoric is, everybody's medical decisions are personal and should be respected and all that. That's not the rhetoric coming out of the government. It's like those people are evil and godless. Their preachers are lying to them, and also they don't care about you.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that Jagmeet Singh quote where he was like, well, there's a lot of like patterns of people on the right not caring about others and just like not caring about the good livelihood of people. So naturally these anti-maskers, and it's crazy because a lot of people will buy that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And, like believe what he's saying.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, bruh, can we talk about how the left is fake and they just pretend to actually care, and all of them are like narcissists on Instagram posting bullshit?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think Bono might be faking it.
Has Bono been in the news recently?
No. Just generally this whole, the whole Bono thing. He's like a very well-known activist. I was just
yeah. Or like, Nike, the brand Nike, who talks about all this social progressive stuff and like they exploit child labor on the other side of the world.
Oh yeah. But I mean, if you look
and on.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look meaningfully at any of our supply chains, they all end in China. It's not like and like it has been publicly talked about.
It's a coincidence. It's a coincidence.
Yeah, but I mean, like we know that people know that it's not, right? Like it's the worst kept secret in wherever, and but it's not like it's not that you don't have a choice, but the choice, the mainstream ignores it. And so it's acceptable to ignore. And so the hypocrisy is kind of societal, right? Like it's just... Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Ryan O'Connor, let's talk about... So we've been in the lockdown. We were supposed to get out of the lockdown tomorrow. Tomorrow was supposed to be Freedom Day, May 20th, right? Yay, May 20th. Enjoy the Victoria Day weekend because we've been so good in our lockdown. But no, they said, no, you cannot. And so they changed it to June 3rd. And... over under, what do you think the chances are of us opening up on June 3rd?
I think 50-50 actually, because I think that if they were to continue to lock down into June, I think they're going to upset a lot more people. And I think that more average Canadians who aren't politically engaged are getting politically engaged. And as the weather gets nicer and they continue to do that, then more Canadians are going to be like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
So I could see them going either way. Really.
Yeah, no, I agree. My question would be, what do you mean by open up? Because here's like they've got where is it? Here it is. There's a little poll asking, Ontario is preparing to announce a reopening plan. What do you believe the priority should be? Should it be outdoor amenities, schools, bars and restaurants, or personal grooming? So it's like, instead of talking
you
about,
have to choose.
Yeah.
You have to choose between one of these things. I was going to say, like, people have made comparisons to, you know, an abusive relationship, an abuser, a user, and how they, like, you know, they beat you down and then they give you a certain amount and they beat you down more and give you less. And then a little bit seems like a lot because you've been beaten down so much. That was a really terrible way of trying to summarize that.
No, but and it's conditioning too. Like, the third lockdown is harder than the other two lockdowns were. There was no there. I mean, we've got provincial borders. We've got everything closed. We've got essential items only in the stores. May 20th was supposed to be the end of all this. And now, like, we're not talking about the essential items only. We're not talking about retail stores. We're not talking about any of the other battles that we were previously fighting. Like in the previous lockdowns, like, we need to get businesses back open. We're talking about outdoor amenities. Can we play tennis, please? Can we go back and play golf? Forget about like retail people. And
that's a great point. That's a great point. It's shifted and shifted and shifted and shifted further and further and further. And now it's like, do you think you should have a basketball hoop anymore? We might give you it back. You know, we might give you back the basketball hoops.
We might take down the bars that we put on to make it difficult for the basketball to go through the hoop. It is. It's like not a kaleidoscope. What are those squares? The Rubik's cubes. It's like a Rubik's cube. Like, if you're trying to and I was saying to, I guess maybe my mom, I said, and I made the comparison on my show today. If you are, like, say you're fighting a war and you set up your trench and you're going to defend this portion of land or something like that, and then the war comes, like, you know, it hits your kind of area, and they're 15 miles that way. Well, you're now behind the 8 ball. You're now, like, rushing to get to where the war is. And by the time you get there, they've already moved on to something else. Like, we're constantly missing the fight. And I think that the goal is vaccination passports. And I think we're on the pathway there, especially when we're talking about opening outdoor amenities. Are they going to start saying, like, you need passports to get into the skate park out here? Like,
yeah, I wanted to comment on that amenities thing. Amenities is typically a term that I hear when you're shopping for a condo, or it's like, oh, there's like nice amenities. And it's like, they're using this term amenities as if, like, us going out to the park is like this special privilege that we get to enjoy an outdoor amenity, like going outside to, like, go to a local tennis court. And although that's, like, technically true, the fact that they're using this language is totally warping our sense of freedom, obviously. Yeah. Because it's basically saying, like, you know, like, this is just something that it's an amenity that we offer you, allowing you to have outside time.
Yeah. I think that it's so have you ever been to like an all-inclusive resort in like down south anywhere?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so back in the day, I remember before the internet was as big a thing, you could go into travel agencies and get magazines and look at the vacations, right? And so I was looking through. I was going on one in like 2004, 2005. We were going to Cuba probably, and the amenities were like beach access, snorkeling, right? Like these are the amenities, air conditioning in the room, right? And you're like, right. But it's interesting because they've resortified our taxpayer funded outdoor spaces. In Guelph, they've even got fences up, and they want to keep the fences up after this whole thing and have a security guard to make sure that it's not overcrowded.
What?
I know. Like, jerks, right? I know. It's wild.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, the people that don't see this as about control, I really don't know what to tell them at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you're really trusting of people who have completely dropped the fucking ball this year. Like they've really dropped the ball, and you're like really just putting nothing but more trust in them. It's
Blind
like really,
faith. Blind faith. I
it's
don't know what
crazy.
it takes. Like, I make the comparison often that, like, if you hired a plumber and the leak was in the basement, let's say, and you looked outside after a year of the plumber working on it, and like water's ejecting out the windows because the leak is so bad, and the plumber comes up and hands you $1 trillion bill and goes, you know what we need? You should stay in your room locked down for a little bit longer. Don't look out the windows. That's what we need.
Yeah,
Here's your $1 trillion bill.
yeah.
Pay it online. Like,
Yeah,
it
and
seems wild. Yeah, I'd fire that guy.
Yeah, and I think our perception, we've talked about this before, but like our perception of our ruling class has just been so perverted by our media, where it's like the acceptance, the passive acceptance of incompetence, and the passive acceptance of the quality of life going down. It's just we're looking into it and we're going to make the decision. So frustrating. It's just it's sedatives. It's just a sedative. It's a sedative. It's be scared. But we have be scared. We're gonna figure it out for you. Just sit tight. That's what it's been all year. Okay, just sit tight.
Yeah.
Sit tight. We'll get back to you. Sit tight. We'll get back to you. Be terrified. By the way, this is really scary stuff. And just sit tight. Okay.
Yeah, it's like we're in an airport hangar waiting for a flight that we know is coming, and we haven't seen the plane land yet, but they keep telling us it's half an hour. Half an hour.
Yeah.
You guys.
It's been a year. Yeah, it's been a year. And by the way, don't talk to anybody else in this situation. You've all been isolated.
Yes. If you don't believe what the people at the gate are telling you, then you are sorry.
It's not a bad analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Okay, here's footage from, and it's just a little footage, but here's footage from the North Carolina Hurricanes game and a packed arena. Right? They've got it's not playing. That's funny. I guess it's 100%. So they've got a packed arena. You can see it. It's probably going to start playing at an inappropriate time. I'm just going to leave it. There's a packed arena. They're talking about bringing fans in at Montreal for the Montreal game. And I think that's for the Montreal playoff game. I think that's wild. I don't know how they're going to reasonably limit the opening to just one of these outdoor amenities, schools, bars and restaurants, or personal grooming. I don't know how they're going to focus on just one of those things. If you've got one of them figured out, don't you have most of them figured out?
Well, I mean, it just seems like overt, they're overtly trying to get the public to participate in their own making of propaganda, right? Because they could be like, oh, City did a poll on Twitter and people said that they want outdoor amenities. So that's the thing we'll be giving back to you today.
Yeah.
They didn't vote for bars and restaurants being open. They didn't vote for this. They didn't vote for that. And it's a loaded question, like it's a question that is like you made a Twitter reply, which was like, how about all of the above?
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think we're going to go back to this crazy new normal. God, the fact that I'm even using that term, but where normies will be like, well, this is good. Like we're back to normal now. And it's like, what do you mean we're back to normal now? Yeah. Like there's still these mask mandates going on, like small businesses are still effed. Like there's so many COVID regulations. They can't even open up unless you're like, have like 200K in capital lying around.
Right.
Like I'm sure whatever the new normal is like, it's going to be like, guys, this isn't back to normal. Like we're in this new space where a bunch of our rights have been taken away. And we're living in this new hyper-controlled, people still chronically worried about COVID and if you got vaccinated or not. It's whenever it does open up, I suspect that you're right. It's going, like, we've been pushed so far that we're going to think that we're getting opened up when really it's like, no. This is our society has just been transformed, and way too many people are compliant, thinking that it's about safety.
But at the same time, the analogy of the airport is good because not that you don't have anything to do, but like I was in the Dominican, and we were in the Dominican airport for Easter Sunday, and that was like the half hour the plane was supposed to be there. We got taken away from our resort at like 10 in the morning or something like that, and we didn't take off until more than 12 hours later. And they kept telling us, and the plane was supposed to be there at like 11 in the morning. So they kept telling us, a couple more hours, and we were like, they're just telling us what we want to hear to get us away from the, like, whatever will buy them a couple hours to get us to leave them alone, basically, is what they told us. And I think that, and what am I going to do? Like, am I going to go really drive to another airport? Like, it's a shorter path to just stay there and wait until this whole thing plays out. And so I don't know that there's, especially with the way that a lot of the public is responding to the media and to the politicians. I don't know that there's another thing to do, right? Like, because it's very costly to uproot your entire life and move somewhere else. It's very, very challenging. It's risky. So you hope that this plays itself out. You hope that we go back to normal. But I talk about this a lot. We've lost touch with what normal looked like, right? Can you imagine if all the restaurants were open tomorrow? Like if if a magic wand was waved and everything was open tomorrow and everybody could go out to the restaurants and stuff, I think one, people would go, and two, there would be people who were really, really frightened and would be like concerned about this whole thing. And I don't know how long it would take for the frightened people to get over it, right? Like,
well, they'd be on Twitter. They'd be online anyway. They wouldn't be outside in real life because they'd be terrified.
right.
But I was going to say, I think you're right. I think that it is a good analogy, because I imagine that the people operating the airport and placating people with, okay, like, it's just going to be 2 hours for your bags or whatever.
Yeah.
If you probably find out the protocol and the reasoning behind the protocol at an airport, there's probably a lot of psychology there. We don't want people to go crazy.
Yeah.
We don't want them to be uncertain. So we need to placate them with the message, like, this is the protocol. When the plane's not this, you say 2 hours, because you have commercial incentives that you want to keep. You don't want to piss people off. So like there's a lot of psychology in there.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's like a 1-to-1 comparison of the 2 more weeks. It's the 2 more weeks. Oh, okay, don't panic. No one panic. Oh, it's just 2 more weeks. They're handling it.
Yep. Well, that's the other thing. They're handling it. What does that even mean? Like, at this point in time, what does that mean? Like, if you hear, going back to the plumber analogy, you hear like the tink, 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 and like the whooshing of water. And
you know what it's like?
Everything okay down there? Oh yeah, it's almost done. Everything's okay.
Yeah, and you know why this past year has been the way it's been? We're really truly seeing how bureaucracy works. It's painfully
How
slow.
terrible it is.
It's painfully inefficient,
Yeah.
and it's always like, yeah, well, you know what? I actually have like an appointment to talk to my therapist. So can we pick up this meeting next week? And it's like, we're talking about the livelihoods of like the entire province and whether or not we want to open up the restaurants or not. It's like, well, yeah, but I booked this thing like 3 weeks ago and I really don't want to miss the appointment. And it's like, it would probably be disgusting and gut-wrenching to see the attitudes of some of these bureaucrats who are like making these seismic decisions on our lives, and how they're just like, oh, whew, I get paid $300K a year. Like, this is really tough stuff. Anyway, 2:30, I'm clocking out. We'll figure out when people get their freedom back like next week.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot of people who don't understand how business works in a very kind of like real world way.
Absolutely.
Like you buy
Absolutely.
X widget for cheap, and then you sell the same widget to somebody else at a markup, and that's how you make money.
Especially, sorry to cut you off, but like especially bureaucrats.
Oh yeah, no, they
like
don't
these
get
people who have always had a government job, they don't understand like supply and demand and sales and like hustling and like making the most of your time, and even things. This might be a little bold, but like even things like presentation and the importance of like a brand and stuff. If you can be part of like a big like untouchable municipal, provincial, or federal kind of institution, you just need to know how to not get fired. Like, you don't need to know how to like, properly represent and properly like, serve a corporation necessarily. Like it's kind of like I don't know. It would be interesting to kind of do a deep dive on this type of stuff. The psychology of bureaucratic, federal employees.
I don't think that it's. I agree with you. I think that there's something to explore there, but I don't know that it's necessarily like malice that leads to it. I think that like the kids in the schools are trained to do that. They're trained to sit down and shut up and not do anything until they're told to do something, right? And like, sure, they can start a project on their own, but like, don't plan a project for something. And people who don't understand what business is business is, I think this project will be worthwhile. It might be so worthwhile that people might pay me for it. So I'll productize it, put it together into something that people can pay me for, and maybe they'll pay me for it.
Right.
And people who don't understand business don't understand how hard that process potentially is. And like, if you put together, let's say, a restaurant, because people like my cooking, let's say, and you want to bring your cooking to people, but you have to now spend, $3,000 to $5,000 on PPE and barriers for your restaurant. You've got to be compliant. You've got to do all this. So it's hard, right? So it makes it more difficult and more expensive to do something that should be easy to bring to consumers, right? And so bureaucracy leads to bad decisions because of a lack of knowledge and understanding, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And I think these, I'm not like calling them malicious necessarily. I'm just kind of raising my voice and getting excited because it's, I'm just thinking about how kind of lazy and apathetic these people may be. Because you're right. It actually makes me think of working with marketing. Sometimes I'll work with marketers in my job, people who are like in marketing. And sometimes these marketing directors, they're not really working to do the best possible job. Mm-hmm. They're working to keep their job. Mm-hmm. And I suspect that in, federal employees, that's what it's about. I'm here to keep my job. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I want to keep this job. Yeah. So it's like, these people are hired to serve us, but their main priority is not serving us. It's serving themselves to keep their job.
Right.
So it's, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much, I'm sure there are government bureaucrats that do a good job. I'm sure there are people who, because it's like they're cogs in a wheel, right? It's like they get this widget, this paper, this thing that they have to then move to somebody else, and they do their job dutifully and well, and they're not lazy, and they're not bad at their job, and they're not dumb or anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's got to be a distinction between the people at the top, the decision makers who have ushered us into this. And there's some blame for the union as well for enabling employees who are maybe not as capable to remain in roles that they shouldn't be in. And I mean, the schools, that's a whole other issue, the unions in the schools. But I think that by and large, it's like there are responsible people who need to be held responsible. And then the knock, ping, run on underneath is like, if you get put on a make work project, is that your problem? Like, is that your responsibility? Right? Like, it's like, if you're in the anti-racist group at work, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm dealing with anti-racism on Twitter and this is my job. It's like, should we be paying for that? I don't know if that exists. I'm just giving it as an example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I guess it's like a crisis of accountability where it's always kind of passed off, right? Yep. If you're just a cog in the wheel, it's like, because I'm sure there's many cogs in the wheel who are like, oh man, like this lockdown really sucks. This is pretty ridiculous, but like, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
What are they going to do about it? And we even have this passing the buck of accountability when it comes to our own public officials, because our media doesn't really do that very well, except it's like, let's focus all the criticism on conservative premiers and anti-lockdowners. That's where all of the accountability is going, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot of blame that goes directly to the conservatives.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of funny. All right,
like, is it the people locking us down, or is it just like white people that are the problem? I think honestly, I just think it's white people who are the problem.
Well, I was going to say that's kind of the other thing too. Like, they're in the job and somebody says, here, like, do this, not bullshit work, but like, do this work. It seems in line with your job and do this work. And you say to yourself, like, I don't agree with the direction of the federal government. Like, say you're a bureaucrat who works for the federal government, right? And whether you're a conservative person or a conservative-minded person or a liberal-minded person, you could disagree with the government either way. And you say, I disagree with the government, what they're doing here, but my job is to do this thing here. And regardless of what the government is doing, I have to do this thing here, whether I agree with it or not, right? So like the yin and yang of it, the conservative or liberal of it is kind of nullified because you're going to have people who disagree on either side. But at the same time, it's the accountability of like what is being done. Like they're cutting budgets for the Auditor General and his office, but giving budgets for Chrystia Freeland to expand her office. Like the $15 million budget that the Auditor General requested got given to Freeland to do her office. So it's stuff like that, right? Like it's like
she's creating a finger painting team for finger painting.
That's super inclusive.
Yeah. Yep.
So
we need to bring finger painting to the Canadian public. That's what we're doing with this $1 billion bailout.
But I mean, like, how do you meaningfully, how do you fight that, right? If you get put into this, bullshit thing, if you think it's bullshit, but they're paying you and like you don't agree with it, but your job is to be impartial. So, all right, I'll do the bullshit thing for you because we all agree this government's bullshit, right? Like it's one of those things that like not that you can't blame them, but like shit, it's kind of a rock and a hard place, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I do want to bring that up only because it's with all these structures of power and these structures that's controlling our whole life, like it would be nice to have something like Project Veritas where people are kind of like telling, hey, like this is what it's like on the inside of this organization, and it's kind of crazy how things happen here. But
I think
anyway,
the truth is harder to believe than fiction, man. I think the truth is way harder to believe than the fictionalized version of it, right?
I tend to agree with that. Yeah.
I watched Project Veritas when I think Rachel Maddow reported on them, and she was incredulous about what they had reported, and I was like, huh, that's weird. And then like Pizzagate happened 5 years later or something like that, and I was like, huh. Right?
It's funny how like the new investigative journalists are like outcasted, and then like debunked by like the real investigative journalists. And it's just kind of like, I was going to make a tweet about this. It's just like, in 2021, you can find information that undermines information, that undermines information, that undermines information, that undermines, like, it's just a total, it's a total mess.
Yeah. Like if you Google, it's so funny. Like if you Google the leaked October email or something like that, you get like, was this email really something that Trudeau's planning? Nope, it's totally debunked. And like you can see like debunked stupid email believed by stupid people. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Except for the part right? where it's been happening.
Oh yeah.
Well, like it's been debunked. Yeah, well it happened, but like that's just like a tinfoil hat.
Listen, don't let your facts get in the way. Google said it didn't. It's debunked, so it's debunked. So I mean, listen, I don't need your facts.
This conspiracy theory that has happened and become true has it's been debunked. Actually, it's been debunked as not being real.
Lockdowns in Ontario aren't going to happen. We're not locking Ontario down. No one knows until everyone knows.
Yeah, COVID-21 variants coming? No, that didn't happen.
Variants of concern? What variants of concern? Concern? What do you mean? Okay, Canada will need 75% vaccination before U.S. border reopens, Trudeau suggests. I just wanted to mention that. I think that that's kind of funny. Funny is the wrong word.
Do you think it hurt?
What?
When Trudeau pulled that number out of his ass?
Yeah, probably. No, they've been talking about it, but here's the thing. I heard that it was
75%.
75% of 12
and
over.
Let's go 75.
They want 75% of 12 and over.
Is there science to that?
No, is there science? What kind of question is that?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to be a complete right-wing reactionary where it's like no, there is because I've heard maybe there is science to
75% for no. Well, I mean, Texas opened with 0. Texas opened with 0. Florida opened with like 6% vaccinated. Or maybe that's reversed.
Zero.
Zero. I was like,
0.
Hold on, is that a white supremacist hand signal? I'm not sure what's going on.
It's all supremism.
But all of these other places open with 0. There may be some science somebody's citing somewhere that says at 75% vaccinated, that's when herd immunity happens. But I think that's funny and laughable. Like 75%, really? That's okay, sure.
Yeah, and the thing is this is the power of the media party in Canada, right?
Yep.
Experts say, Trudeau suggests, and it's the thing that every normie repeats. Oh, we need 75%.
Yeah.
We need 75%.
Yeah.
We need 75%.
Yeah.
It's like where did this like landmark come from?
Yeah.
And by the way, and like it's so frustrating too, right? Because it's like, guys, we just need to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
Guys,
2 more weeks.
we
man.
just need to get the vaccine.
Well,
guys,
it's
we
a
just
faulty-
need 75%.
Yeah, it's a faulty metric anyway, because vaccinating somebody is not a single dose, right? So like
The fact that no one's talking about natural immunity is the
well,
thing.
that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant with the 75%. Like 75% vaccination equals herd immunity. Then what about the T cell? What about all the people who tested positive? That's a whole other. Like I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure that there's something that we need to talk about there. But all of like we're a year and a bit into this, and like the border's been closed after people are saying border closures don't work. All of this is like, as you
actually,
said,
yeah, actually, and not only that, it's now there's like border measures between provinces
yeah, right, exactly,
because they don't work.
They don't
right?
work. They don't work to contain
because they don't
virus.
work. Yeah, okay.
But there's mandatory or essential trip people who don't get like stopped or anything like that.
right. I
Wow.
mean, and is it fair to say that Trudeau's been more focused, or I guess I can't blame it on Trudeau. I have to blame it on the premiers. Canadian bureaucrats have been more focused on restricting the travel of its own citizens than people flying into the country.
Yeah. Well, and they've been focused on sending money to Africa to get their economy restarted because they had a pandemic.
Oh
there.
my God, that tweet from Trudeau, right?
Yeah.
Holy crap! Holy crap, folks!
We almost started
Yeah.
the show with Toto's Africa, right? Like that was almost.
Oh, we should have done that.
We should have, man. Darn. Missed opportunity.
Maybe we'll do it next time. Maybe we'll do it next week.
I like the rain stick.
Yeah.
Let's finish off. C10 apparently is getting
Yeah.
backed by the bloc. So apparently we're going to be regulated by the CRTC. So we're...
They got to fight this, man. They got to fight this bill. It's not as bad as the next censorship bill that's coming, but I actually watched the parliamentary committee on this, and the more these liberals and the experts that they drag in there and try to justify Bill C-10, the less sense it makes. They say, oh, well, big tech, the way they regulate their algorithms is biased and it's commercially motivated. And that's why the government coming in to like regulate it is going to help them, because it's like, okay, so you're going to have your own bias and you're going to be ideologically motivated.
Yep.
How is this any better? There's a regulation problem with big tech. We're going to fix it with
Through
government
regulation.
regulation. It's like, yeah, okay. And then their big argument is we're going to get a bunch of money from these big tech platforms. And I'm mostly curious about that because they haven't even like really outlined what that's going to look like. Is that just going to make Netflix even more expensive for all Canadians because now these big web giants are being taxed by the Canadian government? It's going to also, what's the word? Like discourage people from doing business in Canada on the internet because there's all these regulations that exist.
Oh,
And
massively,
that's another thing that no one's talking about. And Michael Geist, a law professor who's standing up against Bill C-10, when watching this parliamentary committee, he's the only guy that made any sense. But he talks about how it's like, Netflix has given like our production houses in Canada like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So this whole claim that like they haven't been giving back to Canadian culture is bullshit. Like that's not the case at all, at least for Netflix anyway.
Yeah. Well, Canada's had a robust film industry for a long time. If I was Facebook, I would turn it off. I'd be like, ban Canadians from Facebook for a week, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, I mean,
like you want to charge us like I don't have an issue with taxes and stuff being charged online. That's fine. But in my opinion, maybe that's a throwaway thing. But like I don't have a problem with the tax laws generally being applied. That's fine. But as far as I don't agree with what the taxes are being spent on right now. I think that the government is insane. But when you have a government that is rationally representing the people, I don't mind digital properties having to comply with the rules. That makes sense to me. But if I was Facebook and the government said to me, we want you to give money to Canadian creators, and if you don't, we're going to fine you XYZ or something like that. I mean, I think I'd try and work with them at the beginning. But if they were going to push it and go the route where they're trying to extract money from Facebook and other web giants, I'd just turn it off. I'd be like, it's not worth the headache, guys. Like you're measly little 37 million people. Like that's nothing. Sorry, turn it off. Like that's that. Maybe I'd be wrong, but
I don't know how much more we want to talk about this because I could go on for a while, but one of the fundamental flaws of this bill is everyone assuming that the CRTC is so good as it is to begin with. And it's like, if you look at Canadian entertainment, if you look at the Canadian music industry, it's like, can you actually draw a line between the CRTC mandates and like it actually leading to like good, positive art being made? Because most of the time when there's like a popular act or a popular artist, it's like, despite all of this weird CRTC nonsense.
That's true.
And I mean, just a second point here. They say, oh man, they're not giving back. These big tech platforms aren't giving back. They're not giving back. They're not giving back. How did you create an audience on the internet, Mark? Who helped you do that?
Yeah, YouTube is pretty big.
YouTube helped you do that. Yeah. And it's like, sure, they have their problems, but it's like, this is a tool, a foreign tool, this foreign tool. And it's
build
like,
Canadian audiences.
Let's apply that to Justin Bieber. How did he get popular? YouTube. Did the Canadian government find him and pick him out? No, the YouTube like platform helped more people find this person. It's like, it's funny how they say we need to help Canadian artists, and like they're not helping them, even though it's like they're clearly the only reason that Canadian artists can even build an audience to begin with. To completely vilify them is like pretty. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. I think that
anyway.
We could probably do an entire show on C10, but
if it does pass, I would hope that it would be a big red pill for a lot of Canadians to be like, whoa, like. Actually, then again, they would probably implement it slowly so you don't even notice.
Yeah, and most people don't. Most people aren't YouTube. Like most people aren't uploading to YouTube every day, or even like weekly, right?
Yeah,
so
they're not
aware
of it.
Yeah,
they're not aware of it. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, even when I get knocked off YouTube for a week or something like that, it takes a few days usually for people to notice, and then I start getting emails like, "Hey, man, I haven't seen you uploading in a while," and so like, it impacts, but like less than you think, and way more famous people than like. I have a small following really, but there was who was knocked off. There was somebody knocked off, and it's like people just move on. Like people just get used to it. We adapt, right? And so that's how it rolls. All right, man. I think we'll leave it there. What do you think? Any last words? Any last thoughts?
No, not really. Not really. We'll talk again next week. And I
know what I was gonna say one other thing. The Senate, if it passes the House, it has to go to the Senate, right? And then the Senate has to approve it. So it might be held up there. They might not say. They might not give.
They say the Conservatives are going to repeal it. What does that mean?
I don't know. They're going to hold their breath and like turn purple and hope that. No, I don't.
Yeah,
know.
well, no, I mean it's. This shouldn't be something that we let the Bloc Québécois or the NDP live down anytime soon, right?
Yeah,
like the biggest red flag is one of the talking points. I kid you not. One of the talking points in support of this bill is like, well, it might be like this, and like we'll find out what happens. Yeah. Like they're literally speculating what the bill might be. And it's like, this is the reason Michael Geist was like, this is the reason we have a problem with your legislation. Cause like, it's this open-ended mess of, it might be like this. Oh, well, we still have to find out. That is code for we're authoritarians who are sneaking this legislation in. Like that's what that's code for.
Yep. Welcome to politics 2021. Obama did that too. Obama was all about that. Like you have to vote for the legislation to find out what's in it. What if Jagmeet Singh and Yves Francois Blanchette and dare I say it, even Justin Trudeau? What if they are the equivalent of the people at the desk at our imaginary airport, at our imaginary waiting area. What if holding them accountable does exactly what making sure that desk guy understands how mad I am at this flight being canceled, right? He's going to go home and he's going to be like, damn, man, I love this Rolex. That's Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah, a bunch of people were just yelling at me today, but it's like, they're just peasants waiting for their flight. It's so annoying.
Bam, buddy, that's it. And that's the unfortunate place that we find ourselves in. And are we really going to get in a little pickup truck and drive across the Dominican Republic looking for another airport? I think that might be like a worse choice than where we're at. But I don't know a better choice than where we're at right now. Like we're at the mercy of the desk people.
We do got to have hope, because I do think there is a lot of people who are waking up. I'm feeling the shift, and
we might just take over this airport eventually.
It's important to have hope. It's important to have hope.
Yes. Yes.
So hold on to it.
Indeed. All right. Where can they find you?
Find me at Greg Wycliffe on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok at GDub, GDDUB, double D, GDub.
Nice. And you can find me at CanadaPoly.com and CanadaReport.co. That's my scratch pad. That's where I put where I'm working on every day, I guess. And Speaking Moistly, you can check out most of our back catalog. There are some that I haven't put up yet, but I'm just lazy. I should give you admin privileges, eh? All right, I'm not going to play us out today with the Prime Minister because it's not going to work and it's just going to be silly. So thanks for watching, everybody. Check us out next week. We'll be here, right, Greg?
Yep, we'll be there. See you then.
All right, see you then.